Today I'm going to highlight for you the test login functionality in Leostream. It's sometimes overlooked, but every time somebody finds and discovers this feature, it is one of the best things that they see in Leostream because it actually gives you a way to easily more or less debug your configuration in Leostream before users start logging in. So what I want to do is I want to show you the functionality, and then I want to show you how to interpret the results because there is a lot of information that comes up in these reports, and sometimes it's a little hard to pinpoint exactly where you need to go to resolve any kind of configuration issues. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Now there's a reason this screen is split. You'll see that here in a second. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in to this connection broker. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to step through any of the configuration. I'm going to go straight to the test login functionality, which is over here on the resources users page. Now, one of the things you can do when you're configuring your interface is you have control over what these actions look like. In my case, I've changed this to a list of drop-down menus, but you can also configure it as a row of links. That takes up more real estate, so I made a drop-down menu. But just be aware, you'll either go to a link here, or you'll pull down your drop-down menu, and you'll hit test login. So this is the test login form. What you see here is going to depend on if you've configured radius servers in your Leostream broker, if you happen to have policies that assign desktop based on time of day. But essentially what you're going to do here is you're going to simulate the login for a user. Now, because it's a simulation, we don't need their password. We just need to know their username, the domain that you want to log them into, because you may have multiple domains in your broker, and then the client location, because the policy the user gets is defined not just by who they are, but also where they log in from. You'll see I do have two different locations defined in here. All client devices fall into the all location, clearly. But then I have two locations, one for my on-premises user and one for users that I'm considering remote. They're coming in through a gateway in my case. So for now, let me just show you what happens when you run a test and clearly I've got a problem. In the end, the user isn't assigned a policy. Well, why did that happen? How can I figure that out from these results here? Well, in the top, you basically have the parameters of the test. Here's the username I typed in, the authentication server I was found in, and the client that I simulated a login from. And it said that client fell into the all clients location. So it didn't actually satisfy the conditions that put it in either the on-prem or the remote group. So those are my test parameters. It looks up my user. It does a simple bind, in this case, to my Active Directory. It's not authenticating the user, it's just looking the user up so that it can grab my member of attribute, which is needed to go through the assignments table. So those are the two key pieces here, the member of attribute that comes back from the authentication server and the client location. And now what happens is based on with those two pieces of information, the broker goes to the assignments table for that authentication server and start stepping through the rules that you've defined there to assign policies. So here, the first row, it said, well, I needed to have a member of that put me in the Massachusetts group, which I'm not. So even though my client is in fact in the all location, I'm not in the Massachusetts group. And so therefore I didn't match that row. So it falls through to the next row. Well, here I'm a member of domain users. That is actually true. I could see that by expanding my Active Directory attributes, and then you would see the list of member of that the broker caught. So I am a domain user, but I'm not, that client's not in the remote users location. So I fell through that row as well. Well, the same thing happened in the third row. I am a domain user, but I didn't select an on-prem. So in this case, either you intended this. In my case, my assignment rules intended that if the user wasn't in either of those locations, I wanted to block that user login, which is what happened here. But it could be the case that maybe you had a location that was incorrectly defined or a group member of that was, I had the wrong group selected here. So here, before your users started logging in and got a message that they couldn't, you could come in here and see, okay, what do I need to tweak to make this user actually get assigned a policy? So in my case, let's tweak the fact that now I'm going to log in with an on-prem client, so I will get a policy. Well, now this test result has a lot more information. Still, the basics at the top, my test parameters, found my user in the Leostream and started stepping through the rows. Well, in this case, I am a domain user and I selected specifically an on-prem location so that I matched that row. So that defines my role, I get a user role, and my policy, my interpret test login policy. Now the assignments table also defines, now that I've matched a row based on my member of and my location, that determines if I need to pass through radius MFA, which in this case I don't. And then so now here, it starts to get down to the policy logic. Now, anytime you see an edit link here, if I wanted to go and edit this policy, I could click that link. It would take me directly to that form. Sometimes you see show details. In this case, it's going to show you information about the protocol plan that's associated with hard assigned desktops. Everything you see here, this long list, is essentially the parameters that are in the policy. And obviously there's a lot there. And truthfully, when I'm reading test login reports, I scroll right past it all until I get to the bottom. And then I work my way back up if I need to. So here, I don't have any hard assigned desktops. I'm going to fall through that. I have a pool. I'm getting a Windows VM. There's the protocol plan that I'm assigned. And then I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom and look to see, okay, what machine am I going to actually be offered from that pool? So here is where we're going to go and open up another window so we can watch some things side by side with the configuration. So I was offered the My Windows VM pool, which I can go to Configuration Pools and look at my Windows VMs here. Let's shrink this guy a little bit. I'll just move him over. So it says there are 6 machines in the pool. Sure enough, there are 6 machines in the pool. It says 5 are in service. Well, where did that one go? You notice one of these is marked as unavailable. There's an availability flag inside of each desktop record. If you or the broker marks a machine as unavailable for any number of reasons, that takes it out of service. So it's essentially something you can use as maintenance mode, but if you forget to put it in maintenance mode, this will let you know. So I have one that's unavailable. That's why there's 5 in service. Then it says there's 3 that are policy filtered. So I started with 6 machines as a potential to be offered by the user. I went down to 5 and now I'm down to 3. Why did that happen? Well, to see that, I need to look at the policy. So this is the policy that I was offered. And you notice here's the offer of the My Windows VM and the one machine that's offered there. But down at the bottom of the policy form, there's a way to filter out the machines that are offered from that pool. So if I look at my pool list, which I still foolishly closed, let me just open that back up. I have a naming convention here. I have 2 domains defined in my broker, the Leostream and the dev domain. And I don't want users from the Leostream domain to be offered the dev machines. So my policy filters out any machine that has dev in the name. And that's just my naming convention. There are a number of different ways you can do that. But here, the policy says if the name must not contain dev. And so that takes me down from 5 in service to 3 policy filtered. Then it's going down to 2 pool filtered. Well, why did I lose another machine from my potential offers? That's because there's also a set of filters that are applied specifically on the pool itself. So if we look here, the desktop assignment from pool section, I'm saying offer 1 machine from this Windows pool. But ultimately, I know I want the user to connect using RGS. So I'm checking that the installed protocols on these machines only offer the machines that have RGS as an installed protocol. So if I look over at my desktops list here, you notice I only have 2 machines here that actually have RGS as an installed protocol. That's what that column says there. So that took me down to 2. Well, okay, so now I'm down to 2 machines, but well, only 1 is available. Why is only 1 available? Well, these are the 2 machines that I'm down to. And if I look, one of them is actually already assigned to the user. So that takes that machine out of the list of available machines. But now it says 0 running. Well, now I've got a problem. As soon as I get down to 0 machines in this list, the user is not going to be offered a machine. So everything that happened so far was fine, but here, now I've got a problem. 0 are running. And you can see, sure enough, this last machine that was a potential for being offered was stopped. But I actually wanted stopped machines to be offered. So this indicates a problem in my policy. And you can see that either by looking back through the test login here. If I start reading through the policy settings, follow me mode is on. Users can power on and off their own machines. Well, that's good, except that my role prevents it right now. So we'll come back to that in a second. Powered on desktops must have a running agent. That's fine. Oops, do not offer stopped and suspended desktops. There's my problem right there. And I can see that in the policy. Let's go back and edit the policy. There's many, many options here. And the one that I got wrong was offer stopped and suspended machines. So I can switch that to yes. And now I can come in here and I can rerun my test login. On-prem, run my test login. I always scroll right to the bottom. So I still have one available, 0 running. Well, that's okay, 0 running now. But I'm still offered a machine because now my policy actually offers stopped machines. And there's the machine that I would be offered in the end. So the last thing we need to do is fix the role problem. You notice here that I can say, well, my role is preventing it. What role did the user get? They get the user role. And now I can come over into the role and edit the user role here and say, oh, sure enough, there's an offer here to allow the user to start and stop their machine. Return to my test login form again. And now I'm good. And so that's just one example of how you can use test login. It can also help you debug problems if you have the wrong protocol. You're expecting to launch via RDP or RGS and RDP is launching. I can check the protocol plan and say, oh, yep, I've got a problem here. I wanted that to be RGS. And then I can actually go and edit that as I need to. So there's a number of reasons that you would use test login. We highly recommend trying it. And our support team will even ask for the results so they can help you figure out problems as well. So that is the end of our little demo on test login. If you want to give the broker a try, take test login for a spin, you can feel free to contact us at sales@leostream.com.